The legend of the Flatwoods Monster, though not widely known, has been a cultural influence since it was first encountered in 1952. The story has inspired works of fiction.
Hi, everybody.
Art.
This is Andrew Smith. I'm the guy that made the short documentary that you're watching. It occurred to me the other day, more than 2 years after I released this, that I was complaining about how you can eat today, in a day and age where nobody is buying DVDs and Blu-rays, or at least not very many people, that you can still buy movies that don't have bonus content or not very much, and that don't have commentaries. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. It's so easy. Granted, this isn't a DVD. You're watching this on YouTube, probably. Who knows? Maybe Facebook.
Of the Braxton County Monster Lantern.
But I just love this. I'm still so proud of this. Anyway, so I thought I need to make a commentary on this. I don't even think I finished my original thought. So you can buy DVDs now, when a day and age where nobody buys DVDs, and they don't even really make it worth you doing. Like, you can just stream it on some platform. They very seldom have even commentary on them, much less bonus featurettes or anything like that. So I'm doing commentary on this here picture of mine.
Let's go back to where this all started. 1952.
The docile tones of the man you're listening to right now is my friend Mark Matsky, who, the way he got involved with this project is his business partner, Seth Breedlove, said, "You should get like a Mark Matsky to narrate this because you sound bad." And I did sound bad because I was the original narrator. So I just asked Mark, and he said he'd love to be involved. And he was a pleasure to work with. Now we're talking to John Gibson. This is a part of the movie that I didn't even really want to have to make or include, because you can't talk about a thing you can't make a movie about a thing that's related to a bigger thing without explaining the bigger thing. So even though anybody ever in the world that would ever want to watch a short documentary about the making and history of the Flatwoods Monster Lantern, aka the Braxton County Monster Lantern, they would already know what the Flatwoods Monster is for sure. But, you know, there might be like a 2% chance that you don't know, and somehow you stumble onto this video that has, like, you know, less than 2,000 views on YouTube, and you watch it for 22 minutes. No, you don't. Nobody does that. But anyway, just to be safe, I had to include as an abbreviated version of the Flatwoods Monster story as I could. Excuse me. So I had John talk about it. John's been like my go-to guy ever since like 2015. He's my buddy. I see him at least once every couple weeks. The reason why that shot of the jail is on there is where he said they call the sheriff. That's there because that's when you call the emergency number back at that time. The phone on the other end was picked up by either the man who ran the jail or his family. And funny enough, a lady picked it up whose name is escaping me right now, but I interviewed her. I've not done anything with the interview yet. She allowed me to videotape it too. But she was the one that answered it. She was 14 at the time. And she recalled in her interview, you know, relaying the message to her dad relaying to the sheriff and his deputy, and all three of them going out there. So her dad was out there with the witnesses that night too, which I thought was interesting. this gentleman talking right here is Charlie Workman, and the way that I got him involved in this film is I go to church with him. In just a little bit, he mentioned something about, members of this organization being community members, and he says members of our church. And as a viewer, it might sound like he's just talking about the church he goes to. But what he really meant was he was looking at me and talking, and he meant our church. Like him and me, our church. Which is, never mind, you don't even know what church it is, weirdo. I hate the bugs and stuff that are flying around at that shot in the cemetery. I think it's already passed, but you can go back and watch it.
I think there were 4
It's right here. He's about to say it.
fellows from our church that were members.
Our church.
I think you had to be under 30 years old or something.
So you're in the JCs, and if you're like 35, they kicked you out. Interesting group.
Say we had 25, 30.
They had so many people breaking down their doors to be in the organization that you could age out. That's a different time.
How we got started in the Monster.
It's hard to get anybody interested in contributing to anything anymore, unfortunately. Civic organizations anyway. But at the same time, I completely get it.
But it seemed like it fell in my lap. I had a salesperson that called on me at the Braxton Motor. His name was Bob Bossert.
So this is great. So he's talking about his associate named Bob Bossert, or a man that he knows named Bob. And I thought, he told me about him, and I thought, that is such an odd last name. I bet you most of the people that I could find in Ohio with the last name Bossert's probably related to him. So I looked up Bob Bossert's obituary and found this gentleman who's talking now, his son, found his name. So I went to Google him, Facebook him, and sent a bunch of people with his name messages, but none of them were him. And then I went back and noticed that his daughter was mentioned, the girl that was in that picture there with him, and that girl there, and found her on Facebook, and she got back to me like within minutes of me sending her a message, which I love. So she hooked me up with Bob, and as a thank you for them being involved with this. Oh no, actually, I got to backtrack. That wasn't a thank you. As payment, as payment for them being so kind as to send the original master for the mold from the 60s to me, which I don't think appears in this documentary. If it does, it's probably at the end. But if you see something that's the Flatwoods Monster shape and it's white, that's it. Or if it's shaped like the lanterns and it's white, that's it. So he sent that to me, and he said that he would send it to me if I would send him back 2 lanterns, 2 brand new lanterns. He said one for him and one for his daughter. So I happily did that, because having that piece in our collection is so meaningful, having that piece of history. And the funny thing is, as a result of making this film and the aftermath of it, which is like me touching base with this family, the Bossert family, and in Ohio, and getting this, the master that unfortunately had spent some time outside. Like John had never even seen that before. So I had to. So he saw it. I'm sorry, I got distracted. And that was the first time he'd ever seen it, ever, in the history of these lanterns. And then on top of that, the tales that Mr. Bossert tells, he never knew any of these details. He just knew that they got done, and he was blown away. All right, I have to pause right now because my wife has called me. Actually, right now. That was my wife. Her and my daughter had to call me because they are at the state fair right now, and they had to bring me up on everything. Oh, right there, that shot where there was a can being grabbed. I shot that at the Ace Hardware in Flatwoods. one of my things that I really am proud of myself on are those little flashbacky style clips that I've included in this, where I like desaturated the video. That way you know, oh, this is different. That took place in the past.
With new molds and stuff, we just left the bale out altogether. Old original ones, if you get a hold of an old original one, they're always heavier.
Oh, these where he's talking about these old lanterns. If you see one of these,
About 500 of those.
oh, he's telling you right now. I was going to tell you there was only about 500 of those made.
2 or 3 years. And
So if you find one of those, grab them before they go crazy, or show me and I'll buy them.
Nobody was interested or nobody was pushing it. I started a new job with the power company. I was probably busy learning the new job and probably didn't put as much effort into it. And the JCs kind of folded their organization in Braxton County. A few years went by, probably the 1980s, and a lady called me from Clarksburg one time. She was a librarian for the Clarksburg Library. Gray Barker had written the story about the monster sighting, and that was one of the big things.
Right now he's talking about, I can't remember how much detail. I remember how much detail he went to when I was interviewing him, but I can't remember how much I actually left in the film. But he's talking about we're at that Clarksburg library. There's a room dedicated to Gray Barker, and they wanted a lantern. So look at that, desaturated. Oh yeah. But anyway, they wanted a lantern for that room, and I just had someone come in earlier this week saying that they needed to have a lantern because they saw one in that room. They said they were from that area.
So I thought, well,
I think that's neat.
Maybe we need to start this thing again. Maybe we need to give it some thought. So I called Bob Bossert, and he was still around. He was retired at the time. But
oh, and I want to give a special thanks, I think I do in the credits, but to the Bossert family, because they gave me all these old pictures of Bob, and I was really glad to be able to actually have a face to put with the name for this. Okay, here we're shooting on location at Darlene Ceramics in Marietta, Ohio. This was so much fun, and they were so, but John told them that I was coming and that I was going to be filming, and they were so excited to have me there, and they were so nice, they were so welcoming. So if you ever get a chance to patronize, the folks at Darlene Ceramics, please do. And they were so nice because they knew I was coming to document the making of the lanterns, and I was really just coming to get what I could get. I really didn't know what I was expecting. They actually had lanterns at every stage so that I could see them at every stage and shoot video of them. They had multiples of every stage, even to where like I could get different camera angles and things. And nobody asked them to do that. They just did it because they were, excited that they were getting involved with this project. They were just so helpful. They were fun to watch. And they were so excited whenever we released this, even though, again, it was only released on YouTube and Facebook, and it's probably been watched on both platforms, I'd say at most 4,000 times. But they were so pleased to be involved. I know I got a few comments of people saying, like, hey, that's my aunt, stuff like that. That's something I love about folks in this region. They're nice and they're excited. It was a pleasure being with him that day. And being with John, it was really fun riding up there with him and riding back, or riding over. I don't know if it's up or over. But anyway, that was real fun because it's a little bit of a trip to Marietta, Ohio. So I got to ride with him. So we talked a lot. We listened to some music.
Baby monster just popped out.
Every time my wife hears John say, "New monster just popped out," she laughs. She thinks it's hilarious. I tell you what, this day in this room was like Monster City. And it was so cool because none of them were done. And this is Darlene of Darlene Ceramics, which her name probably just popped up. So right now, okay, this is interesting. So you know the lantern that she just had, it had the holes and stuff cut out, and now this one doesn't. So it kind of makes it seem it's the same one, but it's not the same one. This is one that she just had left over that had seams, and she wanted to show me how she can get rid of the seams too, but she said it had sat a little bit too long, so it was a little too dry, but this is the same one. So she's still showing me the steps, but it's not the one we were shooting before. It's a different one. As a matter of fact, I think that one she said was going to go back in the clay to be recycled because it had some cracks in it. That's something I think's neat, is basically clay doesn't go to waste, at least here. All their cutoffs, everything like that, it goes back. They have like a clay tank that they put it in where they make their slip, and they just put the chunks back in. And even if it's dry, they throw it back in. It, soaks back up water again. Softens up, then it just comes right back out as slip. I had so much fun getting to record everything. And this the way it's going to be cut, it looks like I'm filming her getting and rolling up one monster lantern and putting it in a box. But really, I think it's 3. So the first shot was one, that second shot was another, and then this one was a third because I kept resetting up where I was standing. This was one of the funnest things for me to ever make because I got to shoot all this and then I got to edit it. So I know exactly how the sausage is made. Which, funny enough, even just doing this once and just my own little indie little editing thing or short film that I shot and edited and everything. And I had help editing as well because for a little bit I couldn't quite find the story in it. And Jamie Lockhart helped me to find the story in it. But then I re-edited after that. But anyhow, what's funny is once you do all these steps, even if it's just for a small project, it kind of illuminates when you watch anything. TV and movies, it's amazing how much information I gleaned. It's so funny. Right after this came out, the Bear Haven or Bear Heaven, I still don't know how to say it, at Exxon closed their gift shop. So there's not even a Bear Heaven anymore. However, the Exxon and Flatwoods does still sell Flatwoods Monster Lanterns, so that's cool.
This isn't an accurate portrayal of what was described in the encounter. It's still the coolest. I guess you could say it's close to my heart. Now it's on my arm. I guess it still amazes me when people don't know about this.
Colby was fun to interview. Really, everybody that I interviewed was really fun to interview. But I love talking to Colby and hearing his reverence for the Flatwoods Monster in general, but for the lantern in particular. He really appreciates this stuff. And if you never checked it out, check out his music, Captain Catfish. And that's Feesh, I'm pretty sure. Fish, Captain Catfish. I had so much trouble with the sound of this interview because he's kind of soft-spoken. And I was doing all the sound recording with my phone, just like I'm doing now. But it was not great. But I ended up, I think, getting it okay. I mean, okay enough to listen to anyhow.
Monster lanterns are still produced today by John Gibson in partnership with Darlene Ceramics in Marietta, Ohio. The lanterns are available at the Bear Haven gift shop in Flatwoods and at the Flatwoods Monster Museum on Main Street.
And I'll tell you what's great, too, is writing stuff for Mark Matsky is fantastic because he's a writer himself. So basically, I wrote stuff for him to say, but then I was like, oh, and if you see something that you think's written crappy, there's that piece that the bastard sent me. I said, feel free to, make it better. And he did on several occasions. This was shot in the Flatwoods area behind my mom's house. That final little scene there. I'll tell you what, making all the graphics and stuff like that for this was so fun. I loved just doing every single thing in this and making it exactly what I wanted. And I had a ton of help along the way, but this has been one of the funnest projects I ever that I ever did in, my whole life. I've been an artist my whole life and a builder of things my whole life. This might be the thing that I'm the most proud of as far as all my creative endeavors. So I'm really proud of it. So if you took the time to watch the short and if you took the time to listen to this, are you kidding me? Thank you. It really means a lot to me. And, I just want you to know I appreciate it. Come by, visit the Flatwoods Monster Museum sometime. Let's see, is there anything else I need to talk about? We'll see. I'll tell you something interesting maybe about these credits. I don't know how credits are usually made, but this credits is just a huge, tall graphic that I that I just had when I put it into Premiere Pro. I just had it start at the top and then scroll down. So I don't know how that's normally done, but that's how I did it. I learned as I went. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.